My divorce is final. It's November in Chicago, and the sky is a ceiling of gray. I can't breathe. I feel like I'm suffocating from the inside out. Chicago is too small. Illinois is too small. The United States is too small. So I'm having tea with my friend Vinny, and he, with total enthusiasm, he says, "Oh my God, you're free. Your divorce is complete. You've left your job. You should travel." That's a good idea. Why don't I? Why don't I travel? He said, "Buy a backpack. Put your stuff in storage." Okay. So he went on to tell me about his stories as he traveled and what he did, and I thought, yeah, I think I want to do that. Oh my God, that would be really cool. And so it's November, and I think, you know what? By February, I'm going to be gone. By my birthday. And I think I'd like it to be a spiritual journey. And then I'm going to follow the weather because it's cold. So I'm going to go to New Zealand first. That's my plan. And I've never done anything like this before. So I got such great information from Vinny. I started to interview people. And I started to read magazines. And one magazine in particular, I was in the Yoga Journal. And there was a story about 7 sacred pilgrimages. I thought, perfect. What's here? And one really stood out for me. It was to circumambulate the sacred mountain, Mt Kailash, in Tibet. And to Hindus and Buddhists, Jains, Bons, it is the holy abode. At from 15,000 to 18,500 feet, it's 32 miles to go around it. It takes 3 days. And if you circumambulate it, you erase your sins for eternity. I had goosebumps. Wow. I want to do that. That would be really cool. And the last time I remember feeling that way, I was in college. And I wanted to be a lifeguard for Disney World. And so my coworker Amy was telling me what she was doing for the summer. She got chosen to be a lifeguard at Disney World. And they had already come to our school and gone, and I thought, I want to do that. And so I went to the college program to find out where are they interviewing next. I'm in Illinois, they're in Iowa. So I call them up, and I rearrange my finals, and I drive to Iowa, and I interview, and I get my job at Disney World. And I go for the summer, and at the end of the summer, I get my doctorate's degree from from the University of Disney in Disney Management. Well, that was what Kailash felt like, and I want to go to Kailash. And so I proceed to interview friends who've done the whole backpacking thing. I've never done this before. And as I do that, I meet 2 from the yoga studio who attempted to go to Kailash. I thought, wow, that's great. Tell me about it. And the first one, Dan says to me, he goes, "Well, you'll never make it. I tried twice." And I went, well, okay. Thanks. He goes, "I got to the border. The Chinese wouldn't let me through, and then the next time I got to base camp and I broke my leg." All right, so then I'm talking to Kathy, who also attempted to go, and she goes, "Yeah, I made it to base camp, but a blizzard came through. And I waited a week, and the blizzard never cleared, and so because of the weather, I had to leave." I'm like, okay, well, I'll have to join a group. So I did some more research, and I found a group to join. And I thought, great, I'm going in June. I've got a group, I'm going with 50 spiritual people. It will be bliss, a sacred pilgrimage, and I'm set. So now I've got my one-way ticket to New Zealand, and somewhere between there and June, I'm going to make my way to Kathmandu in Nepal to join my group to go to Tibet. And so I'm off. It's February, I go to New Zealand. And there I'm doing a work exchange program where you work for 4 hours and trade for your room and board. Well, when I arrive, I discover it's an ashram. I didn't know this ahead of time. And on the wall, ginormous, there's a huge painting of Mt Kailash. They're having a festival, Mt Kailash. Right? I know. It's a sign. It's a sign. And I'm all excited to the couple who are hosting me, and I say to Dan and Annie, it's a sign. I've got my ticket. I'm going with the group. And he looks at me with the most spiritually significant tone, like, the mountain chooses you. You'll never make it. Now, I mentioned I was from Chicago, but I'm also, particularly I'm from the south side of Chicago. You might have heard about it. It's been mentioned in songs. There's been some skits on Saturday Night Live. We're kind of no nonsense, straight shooter, salt of the earth. And I was like, what? Up yours, buddy. Screw you. I don't know, but I think the mountain's calling me. And so I let it go, and privately I'm thinking, well, I don't know, but I feel like I'm supposed to go. So I let it go. And time goes on. It's 2 days now before I'm supposed to take my flight to get to Thailand, to get to Nepal, to meet my group, and I get an email. The trip's been canceled. Yeah. And it said the royal family has been assassinated. The Maoists are fighting, and there's a travel advisory. And so the whole thing has been canceled. And at the same time, I'm receiving an email from a Nepalese guide that I'd been corresponding with, Chedakman Lama. He says, are you coming? And I write him back and I say, well, I don't know, I'm scared. My trip got canceled to Tibet was the whole reason I was, doing this. And he said, come. Just come. I will take care of you. I will make sure you're fine. Come anyway. And so I wrote my friend Nita, who'd been an English teacher in Nepal for a year, who'd referred me and connected me with Chedakman to assure me, is this okay? And she assured me, he's a good man, you'll be fine. Show up. Go anyhow. You have the tickets. You're going to lose the money, you might as well go anyway. And so I sat with it for a day, and I kind of checked in. And the voice inside me said, go, it's okay. And so I did. I wrote him back. I said, I'm coming. So I go. I arrive. He meets me at the airport. And I say, Chedakman, I still really want to join a group and go to Tibet. And he said, I found a group for you to join. And so 2 weeks later, I haven't given him any money yet. Turns out you have to go across the border. You have to be a group of 5 or they won't let you in. And their 5th person had fallen off. So 2 weeks later when I show up to the group, not fully committing yet because I'm still a little nervous about the whole thing. I already had one trip fall through. I was their 5th person. And I met them and it felt right. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go. I'll be the only girl. It'll be great. In a Jeep for 5 days with 5 men. And so we leave the next morning. And it's a 5-day drive. And on our way, there had been, a couple days in, there had been a landslide. And literally, there's a moment where we're driving on the ledge of a mountain they call a road. And you're just kind of looking over like, really? Wow. Okay, let's just hug that mountain. Like hug it like you never hugged it before. The tires are bald. It looks like it's held together with tape, the Jeep we're in. And as we pull up, there had been a landslide the day before, and we were told hundreds of people had died in it. And just a couple hours before, they had cleared the road. And we went through. So made it to the Chinese border, and there we got held up for 3 hours as our guides and the officers proceeded to fight over the American. And it was, time moved really slowly. It was dreary. There were big dogs, German shepherds and machine guns, and it was dirty, and they're fighting and fighting, and finally I see them wave me over. And so I go up, and I'm looking into this guard's eyes, and he's just like, just with disdain, still yelling at my guide next to me. And I think, I take a deep breath and I exhale, and I think, okay, God, if you don't want me here, if this is as far as I get, I accept. It's up to you. And no sooner had that thought flashed through my head that he waved us through. And we went on. We grabbed our stuff and we were over the border. The rest of the trip to the mountain went off without a hitch. It was glorious. It was beautiful. And we made our way around. And, you know, there was a quiet ordinariness to it as well that I really touched me. And I realized I agree. The mountain chooses you. And for whatever reason, it was my time, it was my turn. And I felt it in my bones. It had called me. And so at 18,000 feet, 18,500 feet, I didn't just look up at the sky, I felt a part of it. And I was in it. And I was so grateful. And the inner voice inside me was happy. She was deeply satiated. She was satisfied. And as I took in the panorama, I just took it in, I realized I could breathe again. Thank you.